Today, there are almost 150,000 Holocaust survivors living in Israel. 95% of them are over 80 years old. Now, of course, this is still a significant number, but this week, as Israel commemorates Holocaust Memorial Day, one of the main issues of national importance has become how to keep the memory of the survivors and the Holocaust alive as their population dwindles and sadly dies out. Unlike when I was growing up, there are many young people today who have never met a Holocaust survivor personally or heard their heroic stories firsthand. So for the third year in a row, Meta is launching a special Holocaust remembrance project called Sharing Memories with dozens of Israeli artists and content creators to share the testimonies of survivors on Instagram. Take a look.
וכלבים ויהודים אין כניסה.
מי שלא ענה, לקחו אותו.
הייתי שומעת הגרמנים עם הכלבים שלהם.
כל הזמן הרגשתי פחד.
אמרתי, אמא תבוא לקחת אותי, אבל היא לא באה. זה לא פייר.
מה היה הרגע הכי קשה? מה נתן?
Well, joining us now is Maayan Sarig. She's the head of communications at Meta here in Israel. So, Maayan, we've seen a horrific uptick in anti-Semitism on social media platforms across the board. Tell us about what kind of feedback this project specifically has gotten and how it's impacted that issue.
Thank you, Natasha. Yeah, so I think we see a lot of anti-Semitism, not just on platforms, on social media. I think it's across the world. And the way we think about it is mainly, on one hand, we want to tackle that issue. We don't want to see anti-Semitism on Facebook or Instagram. We don't want to see Holocaust denial, right? So we always try to think how we remove that negative content. And that's our job, definitely, to do so. On the other hand, we want to make sure that we use our platforms to spread the facts and the stories of Holocaust survivors. We want to make sure that we harness the power of the platforms to also tell a different kind of story. And I think this is exactly what this project is doing. And this is why it's so important to keep telling those stories on social media so we can see different types of content all the time.
What kind of influencers and content creators have you selected to share the stories of Holocaust survivors? And is this same initiative also being done abroad? Because here in Israel, obviously there's a lot more of a receptive nature to hearing the stories of Holocaust survivors, but you're not necessarily seeing that same sentiment across the world.
Right. So to be completely honest, this project mainly tackles the problem with the younger generation. We want to make sure that the younger generation in Israel is engaged with the stories of Holocaust survivors, the way that they tell their story in their own voices. Because as you said in your intro, Holocaust survivors are getting fewer as the years gone by. And 50% of the younger generation is telling us that they've never met a Holocaust survivor, which is a very, very big number. So we want to make sure we tackle that. We do always add one version of an English encounter. Someone that has, for example, Ayelet Zorer or Noah Tishby, that has a lot of followers outside of Israel. And we do so in English to make sure that other people around the world are getting exposed to that content. But mainly our main focus is the younger generation in Israel. And this is why we do it on Instagram. And it was very hard to think about, to take Holocaust survivors, to put them on Instagram with content creators and artists, mainly young ones. It was a very big, we thought about it and we were like, I don't know, it was so sensitive. We didn't know if we would really be able to do it. And it actually works at the end of the day.
Could we see this initiative take place in the United States, for example, or in other parts of the world? Because I think that that's the populations that need to see this stuff more than anything, not just Jewish Israeli youth.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think Meta has already expressed the desire to do so outside of Israel, to do it in English with Holocaust survivors in the US. And it has its challenges, but I definitely hope that we'll be able to see different types of initiatives come together, especially with technology getting so much better and with the metaverse coming up and the VR initiatives that we see. So we hope to see a few new things this year.
Well, I know that this initiative has also fundraised money for survivors living below the poverty line as well. So that was obviously another kind of silver lining, a highlight of this initiative. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us, Maayan.